Miley Cyrus still wants the best of both worlds, just not if it means she has to go on tour. Miley Cyrus just got caught in a lie and her fans aren't letting it slide. First, she blamed her vocal cords for why she wouldn't tour again, but now she's admitting that she just doesn't feel like it. So what's the truth, Miley? Well, let's rewind. In an interview last year, Miley opened up about suffering from something called Ranke's edema, swelling in her vocal cords, which is she claimed was a result of years of smoking, drinking, and just non-stop performing. She said touring was brutal on her health and it just wasn't sustainable anymore. Now, at the time, fans were sympathetic. Of course, the girl's, vocal cords were damaged. Understandable, right? But fast forward to this week and the narrative has completely flipped. In a new sit-down with Good Morning America, Miley said point blank, "I have the physical capacity to go on tour. I just don't have the desire." No mention of vocal cords, no mention of damage, just a flat out, "I don't want to." So which is it? Is it health or is it just vibes? She went even deeper in a separate interview saying that touring doesn't align with her mental health anymore. She said she thrives in stability and being on the road messes with her sense of peace. Now, after a show, she explained she crashes emotionally. 1 minute you're in front of 80,000 screaming fans and the next you're alone on a bus in the middle of nowhere. Not exactly the rock star fantasy we were sold. She also said staying sober is harder on tour, and apparently sobriety is one of her non-negotiables now. She even called it her god. So yeah, Miley's choosing peace, quiet, and probably a very expensive therapist over screaming arenas and light up wristbands. But here's the thing, just a year ago she made it seem like touring was impossible, not just undesirable. She made it seem, and sound like her vocal cords couldn't handle the pressure, that it physically wasn't safe for her to hit the stage again. Now she's admitting the truth. It's not that she can't, she just doesn't want to. And listen, that's fine. People evolve, artists evolve. We're not here to force anyone into a tour bus, but don't gaslight the fans into thinking it was a medical emergency when really you were just over it. This is someone who used to swing on a wrecking ball in latex. We're not new to the drama here. And before anyone says, she's retired, hold up. She's not done performing, not even close. She just performed with Beyonce in Paris and said she still plans to do special one-off appearances. She's down for private shows, high-profile collabs, and anything that fits her schedule, but a full-blown, 30-city arena tour, not happening. So let's call it what it is. Miley Cyrus is being selective, and she has every right to be, but let's also not pretend this was always about health, because it wasn't. That vocal cord excuse, that was just a soft launch into, I'm not doing this anymore. Now, at the end of the day, Miley's doing what a lot of artists are starting to do, which is opting out of the traditional music industry grind. Touring isn't always glamorous, it's exhausting, isolating, and apparently not very sober friendly. Miley's just being, one of the first to say it out loud. These celebrities have been lying about using Ozempic, but the proof is in the pudding, or shall I say, pen. Meghan Trainor's dramatic weight loss after the birth of her second child has been well documented, and she's not shied away from sharing how she did it. In a March 2025 Instagram post, the hitmaker explained Mounjaro was partially responsible for her new figure. She said, "I've been on a journey to be the healthiest, strongest version of myself for my kids and for me. I've worked with a dietitian, made huge lifestyle changes, started exercising with a trainer, and yes, I use science and support, shout out to Mounjaro, to help me after my second pregnancy, and I'm so glad I did because I feel great." Well, good for her. Sunny Hosted, who is a host on the daytime talk show The View, shared she gained 40 pounds during the global health crisis that started in 2019 and wasn't happy with the way she looked, particularly on camera. She said, "I was horrified by the fact that I would have to come out on air, so I also took steps to lose weight." She didn't specify what steps she took, but many fans speculated Ozempic or another brand of the GLP-1 medication. Her before and after pics talk for themselves. The Real Housewives of New Jersey star Dolores Catania has been candid about using both Ozempic and Mounjaro to lose weight after being prescribed them by her doctor. After being spotted in public looking drastically different, she finally admitted to it. She said, "I took Ozempic, stopped, and then began Mounjaro. I was medically prescribed for both because I am insulin resistant / pre-diabetic and have a thyroid issue." The reality star explained that the price tag prompted prompted her to swap between the two medications, adding that she was still, dedicated to a regular exercise and a healthy diet in addition to the weight loss aid. Lauren Manzo's weight loss struggles were well documented during her family's time on The Real Housewives of New Jersey and the spin-off Manzo'd with Children. And the ex-reality star looks drastically different now than she did on the Bravo shows. After denying for a while taking medication to help aid in her loss, she finally admitted it, and Manzo said Mounjaro helped her lose 30 pounds in 3 months. She said, "I get it, people don't like it, people don't applaud it, people aren't whatever, but it's a shot in your stomach once a week. You guys have seen me struggle with this since, I was 20 years old, and it's been really hard for me." The Real Housewives of Dubai star Caroline Stanbury shared she lost 18 pounds with Ozempic after photos circulated online of her looking visibly thinner. Stanbury explained she'd been working out regularly but was struggling to lose the weight she gained after undergoing IVF treatments in 2022. She said, "Ozempic, I have to say, is an incredible tool. Why do you need to be miserable if you can get yourself back to where you were? I didn't want to be different. I didn't do my face to look like a supermodel. I wanted to be me, but younger."
You would hope that when you read an autobiographical book about someone, they would tell the truth. Well, we're not always that lucky. Author James Frey was once known as the successful writer of A Million Little Pieces, but that success turned sour when it was revealed that he actually lied about many of the events he wrote about. The book was supposed to be an account of the author's life. It was a book about his journey to recovery from a substance reliance. This is something that a lot of people can relate to, and so it gained a lot of traction, really taking off when Oprah Winfrey featured it on her show. When Oprah endorses something, it's because she believes in it. She trusts it. This book in particular hit home for the talk show host, as Oprah herself has admitted to once using a substance and disliking it. So when she recommended James's book on her show, she meant it. However, soon people started noticing holes in the plot, and it got to the point where author James Frey was accused of fabricating or altering events written about in the book. Eventually, he was invited back on the show to share why he wasn't entirely truthful with his writing that was supposed to be real accounts of his life story. Oprah got on the author's case about switching details around or making things up for shock value. She opened the interview with, "I have to say it is difficult for me to talk to you because I feel really duped, but more importantly, I feel that you betrayed millions of readers." A harsh statement, but herself and many who read his book certainly felt that way. The author claimed that he changed major details about people and events to simply render them unidentifiable. However, Oprah believed that he was simply just lying. She said the situation was embarrassing and disappointing for her. The conversation got a bit heated, to the point where today, Oprah has said that she slightly regrets how she handled it all, but not what she said. James Frey apparently ended up switching genres entirely after this. His days of writing the gritty realism of A Million Little Pieces are over, and he has instead moved to YA fiction, writing under the name Pittacus Lore. The world felt lied to when Jada Pinkett Smith revealed in an interview ahead of her 2023 memoir Worthy release that her and Will Smith weren't even married when he got himself banned from the Academy Awards. We all remember the Will Smith rocks Chris Rock at the Oscars, right? Well, it was clear that Smith did it because he was defending his wife. I mean, keep my wife's name out your mouth. Only if we take the memoir into account, Jada wasn't actually his wife at the time. Now, I don't mean to say that they weren't married. That actually wouldn't be true because they were married, however they were separated. The couple doesn't want to get divorced, so they are simply separated while keeping the married title. In the memoir, Jada revealed that when Will swung, the pair had already been separated for 6 years. It made people wonder if Smith reacted so strongly because he was dealing with the weight of that emotionally. No matter what, it makes that whole situation just feel so much worse than it already did. In the interview, the star also confirmed that the pair were living separately. Alec Baldwin's wife pretended to be Spanish for years, going so far as to speak with an accent and everything, despite being white and born in Boston and going to school in Massachusetts. Yeah, she actually got away with her story for a long time. It wasn't until about 2020, when everyone had the time to actually care about this, that it was revealed that she was lying about her Spanish heritage. Kind of. She claims that yes, while she might be white, she spent a lot of time in Spain, and that is how she adopted the culture. She was accused of having a fake accent. There was a pretty famous clip of her forgetting the English word for cucumber. Apparently, the city of New York has been well aware of her fake backstory and just failed to share that with the class. Robert Pattinson has a history of lying. It's more likely that every life story that he's ever told is a lie than not. My favorite lie of his comes from a 2011 morning interview he did on the press tour for the movie Water for Elephants. It's set at the circus, and I swear that's important. The interviewer asked Pattinson if he ever dreamed about being in the circus as a kid or just like had good memories of the circus, to which Pattinson replied that he didn't because the first time he went to the circus, one of the clowns passed away. Of course, the interviewer was like, "Oh my god, what do you mean?" And Pattinson said that the little clown car exploded. It was terrifying and everyone had to evacuate. Obviously, the story sounds unbelievable because it was a lie. So sorry to anyone that has gone to a circus and seen a clown car explode, but this time it was a lie. But still, the interviewer asked Robert if he was telling the truth, and he said yes. The interviewer really was a super trooper for keeping up with this lying liar who lies and still managing to pull the interview back to the movie press. Maybe this lie was simply Pattinson preparing to become Batman. 11 years later, the hatred for the Joker lives within him. The lie came back to bite him during an interview for that very Batman press tour. Sitting beside Zoe Kravitz, he was asked about the Joker and his clown-related trauma, and Pattinson admitted that he has some trouble distinguishing fact from fiction, and Zoe clarified that Robert tells all these stories and now he's being asked about them and he doesn't know if they're true or not. It turns out that Robert lies all the time. All the time. It makes looking at old tween magazines, I'm talking about like the Tiger Beats, the J14s, I hope you are getting neon flashbacks right now. It makes looking at those magazines just so incredibly funny because you wonder if Pattinson is ever telling the truth at all. Not every lie he tells works out. 2009 was a big year for him lying. He said he didn't wash his hair, and headlines about that proceeded to haunt him for over 5 years. He claimed that he bored a stalker out of stalking him by taking them to dinner and complaining so much they left him alone. He said that he sometimes just says things in interviews just to have something to say. I will say though that his creativity is off the charts. It's to the point where people aren't sure if he shares real stories anymore. There was a GQ Zoom interview he did in 2020 where the interviewer listened to Pattinson discuss his latest business venture, a pasta you can hold in your hand called Piccolini Cuisino or Little Pillow, whatever that means. He demonstrated it live on camera and blew up his microwave, and the poor interviewer didn't know if he was earnest or just did a performance piece for them. I do love this interview style though, because you know when you're out and you meet somebody and you don't really want them to know who you are and you know you'll never see them again, so you just like lie about yourself for fun. I am ready for everyone in the comments to be like, no, I don't do that, you're a freak, but like when I'm reading all these stories about Pattinson, I just get him. He just happens to be creating his characters on an international scale. And this works great for celebrities because interviewers can get the clickbait material they need while Pattinson keeps the actual details of his life private, and people still love him. It's a win-win-win. And finally, the most evil lie of all, that time when Dakota Johnson admitted live on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon that she actually was allergic to limes. She lied about keeping limes in her house. Dakota Johnson has some truly iconic interview moments. I mean, actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. You were invited. Come on. But my favorite is the lime bit. In March of 2020, Johnson allowed Architectural Digest in her home for a little house tour. As she was walking us through her kitchen setup, she took a moment to acknowledge a pile of limes on the counter, saying that she loves limes, loves them, and likes to present them in her house like this. Fawning over limes is kind of funny, so of course it became like a key moment of the video, and it got to a point. Almost a year later, she zoomed into Jimmy Fallon, and he of course asked her about her seemingly lime addiction, to which she said she was actually allergic to limes. So why were there like 25 limes in her kitchen then? I'm so glad you didn't ask. Apparently it was set dressing, and they just put them there. And if you don't know what set dressing means, it typically refers to like movie sets or real estate even. It's people that come in and make a location look lived in. In this case, set dressing decided to do that with 30 limes. Thank goodness Johnson's allergy is mild. She didn't even know they were in there, and that could have ended really poorly. I'm guessing that the team is now going to be asking about allergies from now on. Johnson said that the reason she acknowledged the 35 limes was because they were just pretty hard to ignore, so she just lied.
Do you remember how there was a
a weird energy between co-stars Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni when their film It Ends With Us was released? Well, it turns out there was something going on, as Blake has just sued Justin, but Justin is hitting back. So what really happened? Well, fans pointed out that Justin was noticeably absent from joint press events for the movie when it first came out, and that there weren't really any premiere photos of him and Blake together. According to a source who spoke to Us Weekly at the time, there were two camps on the film, Team Blake and Team Justin. This creative struggle set the tone for the negative experience behind the scenes and grew into them not speaking anymore. Now, this made sense as Justin only appeared on the red carpet solo and side by side with his wife Emily and other friends and family, but never with Blake or other co-stars. Now, unnamed sources told The Hollywood Reporter that there was a fracture among the filmmakers in post-production, and that Blake, who was a producer on the film, had commissioned her own cut of the film from editor Shane Reed, who was the editor on her husband Ryan Reynolds' film Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, everyone on the internet then pretty much switched on Blake, calling her the problem and digging up things that made the star look bad. A journalist stepped forward to talk about how uncomfortable they were interviewing Blake in 2016. Norwegian interviewer Kirsty Flaw, who goes by Curtsy, uploaded her 2016 interview with Blake that was so uncomfortable it made her want to quit her journalism career. At the time of the interview, Blake had announced her pregnancy at the Met Gala that May, but appeared to take offense when Curtsy starts the interview by congratulating her on her little bump. "Congrats on your little bump," Blake mockingly retorts to Curtsy, who visibly isn't pregnant, and later on in the interview, Blake and her co-star seem to just ignore Curtsy altogether. It's really awkward. Now, Blake had also been blasted as tone deaf and shallow after she hosted an interview with her It Ends With Us co-stars and failed to discuss the serious message behind the movie. Blake sat down with fellow cast members Jenny Slate and Isabella Ferrer, as well as author Colleen Hoover, and many people were left unamused by the lighthearted nature of their conversation. Now, the four women giggled together as they discussed everything from their dream job to their zodiac signs, but there was no mention of DV during their chat. And social media users were quick to slam them, particularly Blake, who hosted the interview, for partaking in the breezy questionnaire given the serious nature of the film and for failing to speak about the topic. Now, everyone was blasting Blake for the way she promoted the movie, and there were many viral posts about the star, exposing her as a mean girl in Hollywood. Now, everyone just seemed to be over her, but at the end of December though, things heated up as Blake filed a complaint with the California Civil Rights Department on December 20th. Then she filed a lawsuit in New York federal court, which was brought against Justin Baldoni, as well as the film's production company, Wayfarer Studios, its CEO, Jamie Heath, Baldoni's publicist, Jennifer Abel, and crisis communications representative, Melissa Nathan. Now, Blake is alleging that Justin caused her to suffer severe emotional distress and pain, humiliation, embarrassment, belittlement, frustration, and mental anguish, in addition to lost wages. She then claimed that Justin improvised unwanted kissing, Justin called her personal trainer behind her back, Jamie showed inappropriate videos of his wife on set, and various other issues while on set. Now, Blake's husband Ryan Reynolds was present at these meetings to back her up, as Blake claimed she made a list of demands she wanted Justin and Jamie to meet before she resumed filming, which claimed that Justin should not make inquiries about her weight and make no further mention of her father, who had passed. Now, in the lawsuit, Blake claims that Justin hired a crisis PR team to smear her in retaliation for her raising the issues. And it honestly appears that way, to be honest, and more proof of that came true as on December 22nd, the New York Times released an article about all of this. Private messages obtained by the New York Times appear to show intentional attempt to bury Blake. "You know, we can bury anyone," Justin's PR Nathan is alleged to have said, per the New York Times. Justin is said to have sent examples of a viral social media thread accusing another celebrity of bullying, writing, "This is what we would need," the Times alleged. Miss Nathan soon floated proposals to hire contractors to dominate social media through full social account takedowns by starting threads of theories and generally working to change the narrative. "All of this will most importantly be untraceable," she wrote. But Justin's lawyer said that he had hired a crisis manager due to multiple demands and threats he alleged Blake made, including threatening to not show up on set, threatening to not promote the film, ultimately leading to the demise during release if her demands were not met. Now, the same day this article came out, Justin was dropped by his talent agency, and many celebrities were speaking out in support of Blake. Colleen Hoover, who refused to do press with Baldoni, posted to Instagram after Blake first made her allegations to call her nothing but honest, kind, supportive, and patient. America Ferrera, Alexis Bledel, and Amber Tamblyn, who starred alongside Blake in her 2005 breakout role in the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, slammed the vindictive effort and sued to discredit her voice, and Amber Heard said she had seen similar social media campaigns firsthand and up close, calling it horrifying and destructive. Actresses Kate Beckinsale and Abigail Breslin shared their own stories of harassment and retaliation in the wake of Blake's lawsuit, and director Paul Feig posted that Blake did not deserve any of the smear campaign. Another one of Blake's It Ends With Us co-stars, Brandon Slynar, posted a link to the initial New York Times story, and Jenny Slate, another co-star in the film, said she stands by her loyal friend. Amy Schumer posted a story on Instagram that said, "I believe Blake," and Sony Pictures, the distributor of the movie, also showed support for the actress. "We have previously expressed our support for Blake in connection with her work on the film. We fully and firmly reiterate that support today. Further, we strongly condemn any reputational attacks on her. Any such attacks have no place in our business or in civil society," it said. But then, Justin sued the New York Times for $250 million and claimed that Ryan Reynolds aggressively berated him. Justin and 9 other plaintiffs, including publicists Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel, brought a $250 million lawsuit against the newspaper alleging libel and false light invasion of privacy. Now, the suit, which has been seen by The Independent, was filed in Los Angeles Superior Court and claims that the Times reporting cherry-picked and altered communications, stripped of necessary context, and deliberately spliced to mislead. Now, in the lawsuit, Justin and Jamie accused the New York Times of publishing a one-sided article based on Blake's complaint with the California Civil Rights Department. The suit alleged that the Times relied almost entirely on Lively's unverified and self-serving narrative, lifting it nearly verbatim while disregarding an abundance of evidence that contradicted her claims and exposed her true motives. But the Times did not care. Now, a spokesperson for the New York Times said, "Our story was meticulously and responsibly reported," and they said that the outlet had reviewed thousands of pages of original documents, including the text messages and emails that we quote accurately and at length in the article. Now, the lawsuit said the plaintiffs suffered damages that amount to at least $250 million. Now, specific lies have also been called out by Justin's team. Blake claimed that Justin invited her privacy by entering her makeup trailer uninvited while she was undressed, including when she was breastfeeding. But Justin's legal team refuted the claim, referring to alleged texts by Blake that read, "I'm just pumping in my trailer if you want to work on our lines," to which the actor responded, "Copy, eating with the crew and we'll head that way." Now, it seems like Justin's team is trying to expose Blake for lying and are showing the proof that they have. Ariana Grande's love life almost cost her her career and most definitely her reputation. Now, Ariana started filming for the upcoming film Wicked in December 2022 when she was still married to her ex-husband, Dalton Gomez. But just months after filming began, it was reported in July that Ariana and Dalton split earlier in 2023 and had been quietly and lovingly working on their friendship. But then, just one day after this was reported, it was announced that Ariana was dating her Wicked co-star, Ethan Slater, which allegedly began after he separated from his wife and high school sweetheart, Lily J. Now, after the news broke, Ethan filed for divorce from Jay after nearly 4 years of marriage. Lily, though, went on to blast Ariana's romance with Ethan, as she said, "Ariana's the story really, not a girl's girl. My family is just collateral damage." Now, Ethan had a son in August 2022 with her, so this was all very shocking, and Ariana was called a homewrecker. There was a smear campaign against her, claiming that every relationship she's gotten into, her partner had already been taken by someone else. The events of Ariana and Ethan seemed to overshadow the events of Wicked, as every moment was made about them. The internet turned on once beloved Ariana Grande, and hit piece after hit piece came out. Michael Jackson had been accused of taking advantage of and mistreating people. Now, it got so intense that a trial took place where he was charged for his actions. But on June 13, 2005, the jury returned a verdict of not guilty on all charges. Now, at the time, Michael's brother Randy Jackson claimed that Oprah was airing episodes related to his brother's trial in 2005 to make him look bad in the public eye. Randy said that he believed that Oprah wanted to see Michael in jail. Now, apparently when Michael saw this, it was the last straw, and it was then made clear to his family that Oprah could not and would not be trusted again, but Michael then maintained his innocence until his passing. Now, people have believed that Stevie Wonder isn't actually blind for a while now. Yep, you heard that right. Despite the fact that Stevie was born prematurely and as a result lost his sight, many people have claimed over the years that he has faked blindness as a way to enhance his musical career, which honestly is genuinely insane. Now, proof includes where people believe Wonder was caught peeking or had an unusually good sense of spatial awareness as evidence of his supposed deception. Now, Wonder himself has publicly addressed the rumors on numerous occasions, saying he lost his sight as a result of a congenital condition and that he's never been able to see. Now, his friends and family have also denied these claims. Lea Michele became a meme due to rumors that said she couldn't read. Now, users online have said that she never learned to read because she started working young, as she was 8 when she made her debut on Broadway. Now, Lea has ignored these rumors for the most part, other than the odd remark, like in 2018 when she tweeted to a fan, "Loved reading this tweet and wanted to write you back," literally laughing out loud at all of this, love you. But in 2022, she addressed this conspiracy more directly, saying, "I went to Glee every single day, I knew my lines every single day, and there's a rumor online that I can't read or write. It's sad, it really is. I think often if I were a man, a lot of this wouldn't be the case." But she also poked fun at the matter on TikTok by lip-syncing to a clip of Kim Kardashian on a phone call. She's asked, "How is it?" and she responds, "It's amazing," before getting emotional and saying, "But wait, can you talk for a sec?" Now, the text on Leah's video reads, "Calling Jonathan to read me the comments on my first TikTok." But hey, at least she can see the funny side to all of this. Courtney Love had openly said that she would only date really rich men, and how she and Kurt Cobain got together isn't really known. Now, whatever the case may be, they became a couple by 1992 and got married that same year. Now, some people believe that Courtney had a hand in Kurt's death. Part of this is due to the fact that she introduced him to illegal substances, while others thought that she took his life for discussing divorce. His widowed wife then inherited all of his fortunes though, how convenient. Now, Courtney has denied this multiple times, but a lot of people hate her because they think she's responsible for Kurt's passing. In 2023, Page Six published claims that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, who had been together for less than 6 months, were already planning their engagement. An alleged source told the outlet, Scott Swift, Taylor's dad, has been asked for his blessing and has wholeheartedly given it, and Travis has been talking to friends about a ring. Now, in early 2024, Page Six repeated similar claims, and an alleged source told the outlet that the couple planned to get engaged in the summer, but held off on Travis proposing over the holidays because they don't want it to seem like it's rushed insanity. Now, the source alleged Taylor and Travis discussed it and there is a plan. They'll get engaged on their 1-year anniversary in July. Now, the media was all over this and people kept asking about their so-called engagement. But during a February 2024 press conference ahead of the Super Bowl, a reporter asked Travis if there was another ring on his mind. He replied, "I'm focused on getting the Super Bowl ring. That's all my mind is focused on right now." Afterwards, a source then told Us Weekly, Travis and Taylor have no plans on getting engaged this summer. Things between them are going amazing, but they haven't even been together for a year yet and still have so much to learn about each other. In 2023, Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell released their film Anyone But You, but it had been rumored that the co-stars had so much much chemistry that people speculated they had an affair on set. The rumors intensified when Glenn reportedly broke up with his girlfriend Gigi Paris. Now at the time, Sydney was engaged to Jonathan Davino, but they both denied anything romantic going on between the pair. But now reports have come in saying that Sydney called off the engagement and that she's now single. Now what's interesting about all that is that Sydney actually reunited with Glenn Powell on the weekend as she was his date to his sister's wedding. So is there something more here? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. In 2022, the press tour of Don't Worry Darling was full of drama. There were scandals about the director, Olivia Wilde, and the star of the film, Florence Pugh, not getting along, and the fact that Olivia started dating the lead actor, Harry Styles. Now all eyes were on the cast, so when a video emerged of Harry taking his seat for a screening of the film next to Chris Pine, another actor in the cast, people actually thought that Harry spit on Chris, which is crazy, but there was video proof that so-called proved this. Now later on, Chris's representative said in a statement, "This is a ridiculous story, a complete fabrication, and the result of an odd online illusion that is clearly deceiving and allows for foolish speculation." Just to be clear, Harry Styles did not spit on Chris Pine. There's nothing but respect between these two men, and any suggestion otherwise is a blatant attempt to create drama that simply does not exist. Now Chris also spoke out in an interview saying, "Harry did not spit on me. Harry's a very, very kind guy." Now Beyonce shocked the world in 2011 while performing at the VMAs as she revealed that she was pregnant with her and Jay-Z's first child. But there were also rumors that she wasn't actually pregnant at all, either having a baby with a surrogate or staging an elaborate ruse so that they could claim Jay-Z's illegitimate child as their own. Now people even went as far as saying that she was wearing a fake bump and pieced together footage proving it. Now Beyonce actually addressed this rumor, calling the rumor ridiculous and over the top. And at some point, a rumor emerged online that Jennifer Lopez insured her butt for $1 million. And since J-Lo is, well, J-Lo, a lot of people believe this. And I mean, she is known for her curves. However, Jennifer set the record straight during a segment of Carpool Karaoke with James Corden in 2016 when James straight out asked her if her butt was insured. J-Lo though said, "No, I don't even, there's no such thing as that. And I think there's a place in your homeland England where you can insure certain things, part of your body. Seriously, I think that exists. I've heard of that, but not here, I don't think," she said. Now people had been praying for Ellen DeGeneres' downfall for years, and what really kicked it off was when actor Dakota Johnson put Ellen in her place. You see, in 2019, Dakota was on an episode of The Ellen DeGeneres Show, and while being interviewed, Ellen insisted that Dakota didn't invite her to her birthday party, and she threw some major shade. Now, without hesitating, Dakota shut down this false claim by giving us the iconic line of, "Actually no, that's not the truth, Ellen." Dakota went on to explain that the last time she was on Ellen's show, Ellen gave her a hard time about not inviting her last year, so she made sure that she did this year. Dakota then advised Ellen to ask her producer about her invitation, stating, "I did invite you and you didn't come. Ask everybody," before turning to Ellen's producers for backup. Now the producers actually confirmed that the host had indeed been invited to the bash, but had chosen not to attend. Now it was just plain awkward and weird, but honestly, it also was iconic. Now this was just the little thing that people needed to tear down Ellen completely, and more of her bad behavior and being horrible to her employees all came out. Now it seems like Dakota was ahead of her time with calling the star out. Music duo Milli Vanilli were sensations who were adored by many, but it all came crashing down when they appeared on Club MTV package tour lip-syncing pre-recorded tracks. Now during a Connecticut show, the tape jammed, "Girl You Know It, Girl You Know It, Girl You Know It" blared from the speakers while the duo danced for a moment before fleeing the stage. Now it was revealed that the duo were lip-syncing. Now if this isn't embarrassing enough, this prompted doubts regarding the duo's authenticity, and after their album was released in America, the singer Charles Shaw revealed that it was him on the album, not the group Milli Vanilli. Now the duo eventually admitted to being frauds and subsequently appeared
appeared at a press conference to return their Grammy Award for Best New Artist. The duo then resurfaced in 1993 as Rob and Fab with a self-titled album full of their real singing voices, but according to Milli Vanilli's Behind the Music, they only sold 2,000 copies. In a controversial Saturday Night Live performance on Halloween night 1981, punk band Fear performed. Now, they decided to bring a busload of fans with them, which they did not discuss with the producers. Now, when they performed, the band and its fans started to essentially destroy the stage. The broadcast was actually cut off before their last song, after one of the fans they brought screamed, "New York sucks," into the mic. The fans bust in also reportedly threw a pumpkin into the chest of SNL producer Dick Urbansall. Later, a report in the New York Post would go on to claim that the band Fear caused $200,000 worth of damage to the SNL studio that night, allegedly destroying the green room, a mini-cam camera, 2 viewers, and a viewing room. Members of the audience recalled how the performance became a total out-of-control free-for-all as fans jumped up and started slam-bang dancing, which was described as a new punk craze that involves dancing, biting, and kicking. Yeah. The report continued that producer Dick Eversole tried to usher the groupies into the green room, hoping to calm them down, but instead they wrecked it. The article also included quotes from an unnamed NBC technician who said, "I've been in this business for years and I've never seen anything like this. This was a life-threatening situation. They went crazy. It's amazing no one passed away." Yeah, safe to say they were not welcomed back to SNL at all. And in 2004, Ashlee Simpson was on the rise, and she was the musical act on Saturday Night Live that June. But her SNL performance did not go as planned. She performed her hit single Pieces of Me, and it went well, but she then returned to the stage to perform her next song when the vocals for the previous song began playing while her mic was down at her side. Yes, it was revealed that she was lip-syncing. She then did an awkward jig on stage and later blamed the band during the closing credits. She said, "I feel so bad, my band started playing the wrong song. I didn't know what to do, so I thought I'd do a hoedown. I'm sorry, live TV." Now, it was just plain awkward, and her blaming her band was not the right move at all. Now, her career never recovered as she was booed at her Orange Bowl performance in 2005, and her next 2 albums failed. Now, if you're gonna lip sync, please learn to lip sync properly. Oprah had quite a controversy when it came to her book club and the author James Frey. Now, back in the day, Oprah had a book club where she would promote a book on her show and usually have the author on for an interview. Now, this would result in the book going on the best-selling list, and Oprah added James Frey's book A Million Little Pieces to the reading list, and in October 2005, James then appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show to promote his book, which the talk show host had previously said she couldn't put down, calling it a gut-wrenching memoir that is raw and it's so real. Now, when James was promoting the books on talk shows or other media outlets, it was referred to as a memoir. But large parts of the stories were later found out to be exaggerated or fabricated, sparking a media controversy. Now, this was discovered after an investigation conducted by the Smoking Gun. They determined that James had actually fictionalized some of the story, so he was caught lying. And the fact that Oprah promoted it was not a good look at all. Now, controversy arose more after Oprah initially defended the book, but she later confronted James on her show in January 2006. Now, Oprah began the live program by telling him, "It is difficult for me to talk to you because I feel really duped, but more importantly, I feel that you betrayed millions of readers." James then admitted to Oprah that he had altered and embellished details of his story, including the fact that he had been in jail for just several hours, not 87 days, as stated in the book. Now, Oprah then also confronted the publisher of A Million Little Pieces, saying her staff had been contacted about possible inaccuracies in the book, only to be told that the publishing company stood by James's story as a work of non-fiction. Now, everyone was upset with James, and it left a lot of Oprah's viewers angry as they bought the book to support him. Now, it seems like Oprah is always at the scene of the crime, as during a 2002 appearance on the Oprah Winfrey Show, Grande, who was 6 months pregnant at the time, claimed that she'd recently gotten married. But then when she visited Oprah Oprah again in 2014, she admitted that she was never actually legally married to her child's father, but she lied because she was worried about being judged and felt like having a child out of wedlock would ruin her career. She said at the time being pregnant out of wedlock was not a trend, it was not something that people praised, it was a sin, and I felt I could not be honest about that. I felt the pressure of having to be perfect. I thought that everything I had worked hard for was threatened, she said. And finally, Jussie Smollett was an up-and-coming actor, but he ruined it all for himself when he pretended to be a victim of a crime. In early 2019, Chicago police said they were investigating a hate crime against Jussie. Now, it was a huge story and he was getting so much support and sympathy, and then he actually did an interview on Good Morning America about him being attacked, and he suggested the alleged attackers were white, saying, "If I had said the attacker was a Muslim or Mexican or someone black, I feel like the doubters would have supported me a lot much more." Then, speaking through tears, he said that gay people should learn to fight these kinds of attacks, and while many people felt bad for him, it turned out that this was more of a performance for him, as police discovered that the incident was staged and Jussie paid 2 attackers to commit the crime. Now, he was then indicted on 6 counts of lying to the Chicago police as well as disorderly conduct. He made up the story because he was unhappy with his salary and thought that a bit of publicity would help. Now, clearly that didn't work out because he was then fired, but this is just a crazy story that ruined him, and it was honestly all his fault. Oprah has been on a downward spiral recently, and one of the reasons is due to her lying about her weight loss, and her fans are mad. When Oprah stepped into showbiz, she was bigger in size compared to other stars. In fact, her weight was actually used against her disguised as jokes. This happened when Joan Rivers was hosting The Tonight Show in 1985 during Oprah's first ever national TV appearance. Oprah recalled the incident in her book Food, Health, and Happiness, writing, "It was all going smoothly, I was starting to settle in, and then it happened. Joan interrupted with perhaps the only question I hadn't prepared for. So, how do you gain all the weight? Wait a minute, did she just use my national television debut to ask me why I was so fat? The studio started spinning. The word fat reverberated in my brain." She continued by saying Joan sat behind Johnny's big wooden desk, telling me that she didn't want to hear my excuses and that I shouldn't have let this happen. She wagged her flawlessly manicured finger at me, pointed out that I was still a single girl, and challenged me to come back 15 pounds lighter the next time she hosted. Now, this was obviously a horrible thing for Joan to do, but after this, Oprah didn't want to be known as that fat girl and started her own weight loss journey that had many ups and downs. Now, in the past, Oprah said, "It was public sport to make fun of me for 25 years. I've been blamed and shamed, and I blamed and shamed myself." One hurtful moment came early in her career when she landed on fashion critic Mr. Blackwell's list. "I was on the cover of some magazine and it said dumpy, frumpy, and downright lumpy. I didn't feel angry, I felt sad, I felt hurt, I swallowed the shame, and I accepted it that it was my fault." So Oprah then worked on herself, but not in the best way. Now, one controversial moment regarding her weight loss was in 1988. Now, she started her show off by taking off an oversized coat and wheeling out a wagon holding 67 pounds of animal fat, the amount she had lost in less than 5 months. It was full of theatrics. Now, the episode drew huge attention, earning the highest ratings in the show's history. However, years later, Oprah expressed regret about it, stating that it was simply an ego trip, and admitted that she eventually regained all the weight back. That's not all with her weight though, as she's recently been in another controversy regarding it. In December 2023, Oprah told People magazine that she had been using an unspecified weight loss drug in addition to lifestyle changes to maintain her healthy weight. The fact that there's a medically approved prescription for managing weight and staying healthier in my lifetime feels like a relief, like redemption, like a gift, she said in her cover story. "I now use it as I feel I need it, as a tool to manage not yo-yoing." But before that, Oprah said she'd been tied to the idea that maintaining a healthy weight was a matter of sheer willpower. But here's the thing. Oprah had been the face of the brand Weight Watchers for over like 10 years, And I mean, she promoted it all the time and swore by it. But then in 2024, she decided to step down and stop working with Weight Watchers altogether. It seemed like she didn't need them anymore now that she started taking the weight loss medication. Now, many people have said that she's a sellout and that everything she ever stood for was a lie, and to be honest, I can't really blame people for being upset over this. Now, it's very likely that she's taking Ozempic or something Ozempic adjacent, and a lot of people feel tricked and are upset. Not to mention, not everyone can afford to go on weight loss medication, and it's just like everything Oprah stood for was a lie. Recent controversy, though, has to do with the recent presidential election. Kamala Harris had a lot of celebrities endorse her, and one was Oprah. But Oprah did not come for cheap. The Washington Examiner had reported that Oprah's media company, Harbo Productions, had received a fee from Harris's campaign for the interview they did in September. How much did they pay her? $1 million. Now, once everyday people found out about this, they were furious, as to Harris's campaign sent out a bunch of messages to civilians asking for donations for the campaign, and fans were not happy that some of their money went to Oprah, who has a net worth of $3 billion. Now, honestly, that just seems like she's being super greedy. Now, it was then said that Oprah donated $150 million to the campaign, but that was false too. Nicole Nichols, a spokesperson for Oprah, told USA Today that the show host had not donated to Harris's campaign. No donations to Harris from Oprah nor her company, Harpo Inc., are listed on the Federal Election Commission website or Open Secrets, a nonpartisan research group that tracks US political spending. Now, Oprah has then come out though saying she was paid, but it was for her production company. I was not paid a dime. My time and energy was my way of supporting the campaign. For the live streaming event in September, my production company Harpo was asked to bring in set design, lights, cameras, microphones, crew, producers, and every other item necessary, including the benches and the chairs that we sat on, to put on a live production. I did not take any personal fee, however, the people who worked on that production needed to be paid and were. End of story, she said. Now, an insider from the Harris camp backed that up, noting that no one was compensated, but that per campaign rules, they are legally required to pay for costs associated with appearances, including production, travel, and costs for their crew. The $1 million from Harris for president was only about meeting campaign finance obligations, and specifically said event production in its itemized statement. But on an Instagram post about the situation, one fan commented, "Y'all are thinking Oprah's support can be purchased is beyond me." Now, Oprah herself responded in the comments, saying, "Thank you so much for saying this. I want to high five you and give you a hug. Usually I'm reluctant to respond to rumors in general, but these days I realize if you don't stop a lie, it just gets bigger." But it's important to note that this isn't the first time Oprah's been questioned by the general public about funds. In early August 2023, a series of wildfires broke out in Hawaii, and it was devastating. Now, in light of the tragedy, Oprah and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson took to Instagram and TikTok, and in a video, they introduced their new collaboration, the People's Fund of Maui. They said that the relief fund was intended to raise money for Maui residents who had been affected by the tragedy. They claimed that because people were so confused about how to help Maui residents, they sought to create a fund that would directly provide residents with relief. Now, in a lengthy caption, the pair wrote, "We're honored to announce the People's Fund of Maui, a fund putting money directly into the pockets of those who were affected by the recent wildfires." They then put $10 million of their own money into the fund, but people started questioning this as they were confused as to why the celebs were asking everyday people to donate instead of their celebrity friends, or even them just funding it themselves. Again, Oprah has a net worth of $3 billion. Now, people start calling them out on social media, and instead of taking this critique, Oprah hit back and made things worse. All the online conversations being slammed, lies, conspiracies really took the focus off what was the most important thing, and that was the people of Maui, she said on a CBS Mornings appearance. "I was on the ground talking to lots of people, trying to figure out how do I best help." Oprah and The Rock then thought about they have both given to charity their whole lives, and felt like starting with $10 million worked because it was enough to kick things off before opening the Maui Wildfires Fund up to people who wanted to help but didn't know how. "I was so excited about it. Then I got up the next morning and I saw all this vitriol and I was like, whoa, what happened here?" she said at the time.